With each cruise, I pick up a few things that really help make for some smooth sailing. So here are my cruise tips and tricks. First of all, on a cruise, you're going to be going to some amazing, beautiful locations that you may or may not ever get to see again. So to me, that means taking pictures to really remember every event. You don't have to spend the entire time behind your camera and actually miss your trip, but having a camera nearby and convenient to snap a couple pics really will make the vacation so much nicer afterwards, and you can continue to remember and enjoy your time. That doesn't mean you need to spend a fortune. The typical smartphone nowadays has a decent camera and takes pretty good pictures. So there is always that. Just be sure to either check your international plan or put it into airplane mode the instant you get on the boat. But don't forget how much water is involved in a cruise. For instance, we do a lot of snorkeling excursions. We just absolutely love those. We didn't know going into our first one how much we were gonna love it. We had a suspicion, but we weren't 100%. So we wanted to be able to take some pictures and video on our snorkeling excursions, but we didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a GoPro. Fear not, there are options. A couple years ago, for I think around $40, I picked up what I lovingly refer to as my Faux Pro. It's obviously a GoPro knockoff, but it was way, way cheaper. Is it as good? No. Is it a fraction of the cost? Yes, and I was so paranoid that I was going to drop my camera to the bottom of the ocean that the idea of spending hundreds of dollars on a GoPro that I may or may not ever need to use again was a little ridiculous. So this was sort of our training wheels version of the GoPro, and for just a few dollars more, I also picked up the floating little wrist strap. Also a very good buy, just in case, so I don't drop the camera, and it did come in a waterproof case. So this has been a pretty good buy for us. It's not the best quality of videos and pictures. It's a little weird to tell sometimes if I'm actually recording or not. There have definitely been times I thought I was recording and I wasn't, and vice versa, but for the money, couldn't really beat it. Just be sure to check the reviews. There are a ton of different options. I don't know if this exact one is available anymore. It's also kind of dying now after a few trips. It's not taking even as good pictures and videos as it used to. There's some weird fuzzy edges and it's a little off. But we did get a couple of trips out of it with the $40 or so definitely a good investment for us. But then we did also notice on our last cruise on Princess that I think for around $30 or $40 you could rent a GoPro for a day, like an actual GoPro. It even came with a little memory card. So if you don't even want to have the hassle of bringing a camera onto the ship, just rent the GoPro. You're going to get those more quality videos and pictures without having to deal with an actual camera and having to cart it around. So having that as an option is definitely something we're going to keep in mind for our next cruise. The next thing to keep in mind is that most of the walls and even doors in your stateroom are metal, so magnets are our friends. You can find a lot of really cool things in locker supplies and office supplies that are magnetic already, and they can be very convenient on the ship. For instance, you can find little magnetic bins that you can stick on the wall and then throw your makeup in, and then it's off of your limited horizontal space and up and out of your way, but still accessible, and you can take those and move them around as you need. One of my favorite things from this last cruise were these little magnetic spice containers from IKEA. They come in a pack of 3. They already have a pretty decently strong magnet on them. They have a clear lid so you can see what's in them, so if you bring multiple ones, you'll be able to tell at a glance what's in each container. I had all of my hair things for this entire cruise in this little container with plenty of room to spare. Various types of rubber bands, bobby pins, little sparkly clips for formal nights, all kinds of great little things, and it was in this little bin, and then I could just take it and pop it onto the wall or the bathroom door, and again, it was out of the way. I wasn't knocking it over or getting it in my way. It was just boom, out of sight, out of mind until I need it, and then conveniently located. Very nice, love this, very cheap and easy to find. As far as excursions, we love exploring the various ports. we aren't so fond of constantly having to convince people that we don't want to go on their tour or we don't need a ride in their cab or whatever. So it's often very hard to convince these guys that you're just wanting to go do a little bit of shopping or whatever. But on this last cruise, there was a time that we had a few hours to kill in the morning before our booked excursion. So we're out wandering around the port and we're trying to get from one end to the other of the main drag, and we're constantly being stopped and hey, you want to take a bus out to the beach? I got a group going, yada yada, or hey, we got a tour. And they don't usually take no for an answer too quickly, so there's usually a whole lot of convincing. But on this particular day, my husband was like, oh, it's okay, we're already booked, we have an excursion later. And immediately, as soon as they knew that you weren't going to be giving them any money, that you were not a potential customer, they turn and they move and they go find a new target. Genius. Mind blown. So from that day on, thankfully that was on our first excursion, our first port day, every port we went to, we would be hounded by people that were trying to get us to go on some tour or whatever, and I would just say, oh, it's okay, we're already booked. Even if we didn't have an excursion that day, they would be like, oh, okay, thanks anyway, and boom, they're gone. It really made our lives so much easier. We weren't going to be going with them anyway, so it only just ended up saving us time and letting us have more time to enjoy the port. So remember, if you're being hounded by a lot of people wanting you to go on their bus or in their cab or whatever, just tell them, no thank you, already booked. Hands down, the most important product that I take onto a cruise ship is my wrinkle releaser. This little downy product, you can buy it in these convenient little travel bottles. You can also buy it in the full-size bottles. So I have this little one that I've been carrying forever, and then I refill it as needed rather than buying a new small one constantly. So that's always a little bit nicer. I love this stuff. It doesn't get out super sharp creases, but if you take out all of your little nicely rolled up things that you've carefully packed, and no matter what, there always seem to be a few wrinkles, just give them a quick spray with these as soon as you get into your room and you unpack, hang everything up, give them a little bit of a tug. Most of the wrinkles I have found come out with just this. Maybe then you can hang something that has a little bit more wrinkles still after this. Hang it in your bathroom, let the steam from your shower get a little bit more out. Maybe spray a little bit more of this before that even. I have found very few wrinkles that this doesn't take out as long as you're fairly careful with your packing. Amazing product, must have. I take this anytime I travel, whether it's a cruise or not, but on a cruise in particular, since you can't pack an iron, this is a must have. And on the subject of packing, I have two things that make my life so much easier when it comes to packing for a cruise. First of all, packing cubes. And I have to admit, at first, I thought it was almost like a bit of a scam or something. I'm like, I don't understand. I roll all my things up really small and tight and nice anyway. There's not like a ton of extra room. I don't see how a packing cube is going to make me fit more stuff into my suitcase. And really, if you're a really concise packer, it won't. But for me, where packing cubes really come in handy is when you're at your destination. You can just take that one cube of socks or whatever, take that whole cube out, stick it on a drawer or a shelf somewhere by itself, just unzip it, throw it in, and you're unpacked so much quicker. It's so convenient. And in something like a cruise ship, where you don't necessarily have a lot of little individual drawers or spaces, you have sometimes just a big open shelf. It can be really nice to have everything stay in their cubes so they're compartmentalized by different item and they're organized and broken up. So you can have a cube of socks on your shelf, you can have a cube of swimsuits on the shelf, all these different items, and then you can just grab the cube you need at that time. You don't have a lot of loose items strewn about. So convenient. It keeps everything much more organized in a cruise ship, and in that limited space, organization is very, very crucial. Another thing that I find very helpful for vacationing in general, but particularly for cruises and Disney trips, is I sort of pack modularly. So for instance, on a cruise, if we're flying in on Friday but we're not sailing out until Saturday, I will have one section or one bag that is everything I'm going to need for embarkation day. My outfit, my husband's outfit, the shoes we plan on wearing on embarkation day, everything we're going to need to get ready, so all our toiletries, only things that we're going to need specifically for the morning of embarkation day go together. And then if we have, say, a group of things that we're only going to need much later in the trip, maybe just to come home, maybe at a specific excursion that's not until the very end of the trip, I keep all of that stuff together. That way, as you go through your trip, you're not having to constantly dig through things that you're not going to need at that moment. You can just grab what you need right then and you're ready to go. Another little fashion note is I personally love to wear dresses. I wear a lot of dresses, especially when it's warm and nice. So on the cruise, I really like to wear a lot of skirts and dresses. But out on the ship, out by the sea, when you're in the port, there's a lot of wind and breezes. So skirts can be a little problematic. So if you want to avoid a wardrobe malfunction, I like to wear shorts under my dresses. Not Spanx, because Spanx are not comfortable for long periods of time for me. I don't really care to be totally sucked in when I'm on vacation. I'm there to relax and have fun. I want to be able to enjoy great food, so I am not worried about being sucked in tight, but I want to have a sort of modesty garment underneath. So I wear these little, they're called slip shorts. I think I get these at Walmart. They're very thin, so they're not hot. They're sort of like a little microfiber. They've got spandex, so they're nice and stretchy. They do not suck in. They kind of have a slight smoothing effect, but not nearly like Spanx. They have a variety of basic colors. You can get, like, I know black and nude and I think white. They're very comfortable, but they are a lot of help in those really gusty days when you're wearing skirts and dresses. So I highly recommend having a couple pairs of these at least if you're gonna wear a lot of dresses on a cruise. I definitely always wear these on cruises or at Disney. Pretty much any time actually that I'm wearing a skirt or dress that's kind of short, not even like crazy short, just like knee length, because if a sudden gust of wind comes, not very fun. But these definitely are a lifesaver and they're super comfortable. They don't get crazy hot and really annoying as a day goes by. You pretty much forget that they're there. So definitely a key find for me. So those are some of my tips and tricks that I've picked up from cruising and other vacations. I hope you found this helpful and informative. If you did, I hope you will like down below. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications because I upload a new video every Monday and Thursday. Have a beautiful day and I'll see you next time.